Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry, and it's time for some more Lone Wolf. And yes, the shirt is on, the cloak is on, the hood is up, and our headphones are off, because I don't need them for this one. There's no music or sound effects. Before we get started, a couple of things. Three things really, I suppose. Number one, yes, I am aware of the existence of the Lone Wolf computer games. The first one or two are from the 1980s and are similar to the Way of the Tiger computer games, and I don't believe I ever got to play them. I'm not sure if there was even a second one, to be honest. Then there is another one. If I just dangerously share some of the things in my Steam library here. It's not up here in favourites, so is it in gamebooks? It's not in gamebooks? Where did I put it? Yeah. Joe Dever's Lone Wolf HD Remastered. I believe it was originally created for mobile phones, and it was just Joe Dever's Lone Wolf HD. I have played it a bit, apparently a little over 3 hours. Originally, it wasn't available for PC, but it got ported over at some point. The combat is all QuickTime events, and as we know, I hate QuickTime events because they are incredibly arbitrary and linking character ability directly to player ability when you're supposed to be playing a character that is different to yourself. Played it a bit, came up against a impossible to beat Drakarim, who was just, the quick time events in his fight were just impossible. I may get another go sometime. However, since it seems to be set after the main Kai series and the Magna Kai series, possibly during the Grandmaster series, I'm not sure exactly when it's set, but it's set quite late in the Lone Wolf storyline. So I will insert it at a suitably appropriate moment in the series. Just like I've been holding back on the last few Way of the Tiger books. Secondly, the crowdfunding... that's the second thing, isn't it? So third thing, the crowdfunding campaign for the board game has received a new launch date. It's no longer launching today, on the 12th. Instead, it's launching on the 16th, so Tuesday. Gives us a few more days to wait, and then I'll show it off when the time comes. And one fourth little thing, if you notice that I have one more endurance point than I did at the end of the last episode, that's because at the end of the last episode I forgot to add an endurance point when reaching this section. As soon as I finished recording, I checked the recording, I hadn't added a point here, so I did it off camera before I went to bed so that I wouldn't forget. And since I'm a little breathless, I'm going to use my inhaler before beginning, and you will hear me wheeze like an ancient thing that might belong in a graveyard. There we go. So, in our last episode, we had made it out of the forest, and the city of Holmgard was within sight. We are trying to warn the king and inform him that the Kai Lords, upon whom he would be relying to marshal and rally the defences of his land, of his realm, have been slain all but to a man by the Darklords of Helgadad and their armies. We are the last of the Kai. We are Lone Wolf. Before you are the tall, grey-white walls and glimmering spires of Holmgard, the city's banners fluttering from the battlements in the fresh morning breeze. Stretching out towards the west, the river Eladil traces its course from the mountains of the Derncrag Range to the Holm Gulf. But below the mountain peaks you can see a vast black army marching relentlessly on towards the capital. To your right you can see the highway heading off over the rolling plain towards Holmgard. At a gallop you could make the outer fieldworks of the city's defences in less than an hour, but you would be in the open for most of the time and vulnerable to attack by Kran, those flying creatures that are remarkably similar to the fell beasts from The Lord of the Rings. Just saying. Directly ahead of you, a wide river drifts sluggishly towards the Eladil. If you abandon your horse, you could swim towards the outer defences under cover of the riverbanks. Or there is a final alternative. To your left lies the graveyard of the ancients, which I might have just sounded like a few minutes ago. These tombs and crumbling monuments to a forgotten age would conceal your approach, but it is a forbidden area. Many are the unnamed horrors that lie there in restless sleep, waiting to consume the unwary trespasser. So, if we want to ride our horse directly along the road, we will be in the open, very visible and vulnerable to attack. If we want to go through the river and swim, do we have any perishable items like food that might... We have a scroll. If water leaked onto the Gaiac scroll, we may... it would be ruined. Any message on it would be rendered illegible, and it might be vital information for the king and his court. The healing potion, I think it's got a stopper or a lid, so it's unlikely that water would get into it and dilute it or ruin it, but we want to be careful there, you know. And we have coins. If the drawstring of our pouch becomes loose, coins could seep out into the water. I do have a memory that going through the graveyard of the ancients is, out of these three, a bit of an old favourite for some reason. I think it's dangerous, but potentially rewarding. You descend the ridge towards the graveyard of the ancients. You are aware of a strange mist and cloud that swirls all around this grey, forbidding place, blocking the sun and keeping the graveyard in perpetual gloom. And apparently there's dust that makes you sneeze. Not very good for sneaking through a graveyard. A creeping chill seems to penetrate your very bones. Your horse becomes startled, and no matter how you urge him on, he refuses to go anywhere nearer to this dreadful place, so you must leave your horse and press on by foot. Maybe, as we regain another point of endurance, the more mortal followers of the Darklords, such as the Gaiacs, would be afraid to enter such a place. I imagine the undead, such as the Vordaks and Helghasts, would be perfectly willing to come into this sort of place, but any denizens of the graveyard might be hostile to them just as much as I. Your passage through the graveyard will not be easy, for the ground is broken and covered with a thorny graveweed. This wicked briar tears your cloak and cuts your legs. The air hangs heavy and still. Foul gases seep from open crypts, and the haunting murmur of distant whispering fills your ears. And here we have a lovely picture of the graveyard. It will probably feature in the video thumbnail. We can see the mist. Eerily, the trees seem very faint in the distance, but this archway stands out quite proudly. It's like a gateway, like a sort of monument. It stands out through the mist more than the trees. This urn here, the shape of this, for some reason reminds me of the Way of the Tiger illustration. Not the Way of the Tiger, the Golden Dragon gamebook illustrations for some reason, even though I don't think Gary Chalk did the pictures for any of those. It's the angle of the line on this side particularly that gives that feeling. And look at the sharp barbs here on this graveweed. It looks very nasty. Sharp, spiky brambles. to rend and tear at our garments and our flesh. Carefully you approach a gap between two pillars and part the graveweed with your cloaked hand. Suddenly the ground collapses beneath you and you fall in a tumble of earth and stone. Let's see, we've gone 1, 2. So yes, 19. You are winded but not hurt, and even managed to recover a point of endurance due to your healing abilities. It's another non-combat section. We're nearly there, guys. You have fallen 15 feet or so through the roof of an underground tomb and are still unhurt. We must have landed on something very soft, like our face. The walls are sheer and you cannot climb them. An arched tunnel leads out of the tomb towards the east. In front of you lies the sarcophagus of some ancient noble. We will use the Kai discipline of sixth sense. Your senses scream to you that this place is very evil. Leave as quickly as you can, but regain a point of endurance first. The walls are dank and slimy. The stale air chokes you and cobwebs brush your face. You can feel panic grip your stomach as the tunnel gets darker and darker. You reach a junction where the tunnel meets a corridor leading from north to south. We could head towards the north or the south. Now, at this point, the Fighting Fantasy rule would say, out of north and south, go north if you have no good reason to do otherwise. In this case, however, we have come from the northwest. We are attempting to go to the south and east. In fact, we've come from the bridge. So we're pretty much trying to just go south at this point. Heading north is the exact opposite of the direction we intend to go. If we were given a choice to head east or west, that could still be heading southwards. However, if we go north, we need to find ways to turn around and come back south. So I will head directly towards the objective. Because the Fighting Fantasy rule is a default, it's not a hard and fast rule to be obeyed at all times. And it's only a default if you have no clues or indications that you have a good reason to do something else. Of course, come Battleblade Warrior, which is like Fighting Fantasy 35, the Fighting Fantasy rule is flipped, and it's always go south. If you can't go south, go west. It always go straight, always go right. If you can't go right, go straight ahead. Which is the reverse Fighting Fantasy rule, which applies to about a third of the series, and it starts a little over halfway through and goes to about 3/4 of the way through the classic series, and then it reverts back to the original Fighting Fantasy rule again. Kind of. We are now fully restored. The cold corridor suddenly makes an abrupt turning towards the east. You notice a greenish glow that lights the tunnel in the far distance. As you creep nearer, you can see that the corridor opens out into a large chamber. The strange light seems to emanate from a large bowl resting on the top of a granite throne. On a plinth in front of the throne stands a statue. It looks like a winged serpent carved in the shape of an S. We could examine the statue, sit on the throne, or look for an exit from this chamber. Sitting on the throne seems like a strange thing to do in this situation. Examining the statue seems more sensible. I think I will sit on the throne, though, because this is an ancient and strange mysterious place, and may follow more ancient archaic rules. As you sit down, the stone serpent moves forward on its plinth. You suddenly break out in a cold sweat and grasp your weapon with trembling fingers in case it should attack. A red, forked tongue appears from the head of this strange statue and dips into the bowl of green light above your head. Slowly the tongue re-emerges, holding a golden key, which, to your surprise, it drops into your lap. A panel in the east wall clicks open to reveal an exit. You take the key and leave as quickly as possible. We have a golden key, which has not been described as a special item, so it's a backpack item. You see ahead a corridor sloping upwards, and, as you reach the top of this slope, a stone portal slides across to reveal another passage ahead. You step through the opening, which then quickly closes with a crunch. This is literally that implication of a one-way door implies this is probably a shortcut that reunites with another path. So going north may have led us to here through another location. So we are rejoining the main path, or this feels like rejoining a main path, even if it's more correct because we got a key. The corridor suddenly widens into a large hall. At the far end, a stone staircase leads up to a huge door. 2 black candles on either side of the stone steps dimly illuminate the chamber. You notice that no wax has melted, and as you get nearer, you can feel that they give off no heat. Ancient engravings cover the stone surfaces of the walls. Anxious to leave this evil tomb, you examine the door for a latch. An ornate pin appears to lock the door, but there is no key, also a keyhole in the lock plate. So here we have a keyhole, but with a pin that presumably goes behind this, here, between the 2 hands, that can be removed. We have the golden key, and we may wish to use it. We could use the Kai discipline of mind over matter, but we do not have that. Or we could just straight up remove the pin. Now, this looks like there is... this could be a 2-part lock. We remove the pin, then insert the key and turn it. However, if we did not have the key, all we could do is remove the pin. So that might be a trap, right? If removing the pin is part of the unlocking mechanism, then why is there no key for the pin as well, right? Some kind of 2-part lock. I'm just going to use the golden key. You carefully insert the key and turn it clockwise. You hear a dull click. The key works. You lift out the pin, and the large granite door slowly swings towards you on hidden hinges, meaning we've left the key in the lock, so I'll remove it. The grey half-light of the graveyard floods into the tomb. The exit is overgrown with graveweed, and you suffer many cuts to your face and arms as you fight your way through the surface. Not enough to count as an endurance point, though. So, while we might ask, how much is 1 endurance point? Is it a stubbed toe? No, it's significantly more than that. It's a significant injury, the sort of thing that actually matters. Looking back, you see the tomb doors slowly close, and a cruel, inhuman laugh seems to rise out of the very ground on which you stand. In blind panic, you race through the eerie necropolis towards the south gate. The south gate is not called Gareth, because, there's like a footballer called Gareth Southgate. Never mind. At last you can reach the wooden fieldwork surrounding the outer city. As you race towards a sentry post, you can hear the excited shouts of the guards cheering you on. Thank the gods that they recognized you, for you must appear a ragged and suspicious figure. Your cloak is torn and hangs in tatters. Your face is scratched and blood-smeared, and the dust of the graveyard covers you from head to toe. Splashing through a shallow stream, you stagger towards the gate. The full horror of the graveyard encounter begins to catch up with you. The last thing you recall before exhaustion robs you of consciousness is falling into the outstretched arms of 2 soldiers who have run from the fieldworks to help you. You black out for only a few minutes before you are revived with a measure of strong spirit. Feeling weary but thankful to be alive, you lean on the shoulders of the king's men and you stagger towards the outer defences. This is great. This is a reminder that Lone Wolf is human. He's not some kind of Superman. And we do get these reminders frequently throughout the series. He doesn't just start out like some weak youngling and become some invincible god. So he becomes pretty damn powerful, right? And I think these instances of human weakness might become a little bit less as the series goes on over time, but they are still present, and it's still a real person. As you reach the walls of the fieldworks, the large oak gates open and you are quickly hurried inside. A sergeant, blood-stained and battle-weary, calls to an officer who turns and recognises your cloak. "My lord," he says, "where are the other Kai-masters? We are in desperate need of their wisdom. The Darklords press us most cruelly and casualties are high." You inform the brave officer of the terrible fate of your kinsman and the urgency of your mission to seek the king's counsel. Without saying a word, he motions to a soldier to bring forward 2 horses. You both mount and gallop off towards the high city wall of Holmgard. You reach the main gates of the capital and stare in awe at the height of the city's walls. 200 feet high, the walls of Holmgard have withstood the ravages of both time and the Darklords. You and the officer race through the tunnel of the inner gatehouse, 100 yards in length. This city is huge, and actually that's a thing we will notice about Magnamund. It is massive. 200-foot high city walls, 30-foot thick. That is, well, maybe the walls aren't, maybe the gatehouse is a bit thicker than the average walls, but these are massive by ancient standards. And Magnamund is like a magnificent, Mund being, of course, world. It's like big world, epic world, over-the-top world. You and the officer race through the tunnel of the inner gatehouse, 100 yards in length, and finally halt outside the doorway of the main watchtower. Great crowds of soldiers and civilians are running to and fro. We could continue to follow the officer, or feel that we stand a better chance of making our way to the king's citadel on our own. I have no reason to distrust this officer. He knows his way around the city. We'll follow him. Staying close to the officer, you follow him through an arched portal and up a short flight of stairs to a long hall. Soldiers run back and forth, bearing orders and ornate scrolls to officers stationed around the city wall. A haggard and scar-faced man, dressed in the white and purple robes of the king's court, approaches you and bids you follow him to the citadel. We could follow this man, or decline his offer and return to the crowded streets. So, at this point, we have to ask ourselves, is this man a spy? Is he going to lead us astray? Have the servants of the Darklords infiltrated the city itself? For now, we will follow him and maintain trust. We haven't been given a reason to use sixth sense or anything, so we'll just follow. You follow the man into a small library off the main hall. He pushes one of the many books on the shelves which line all 4 walls, and you hear a metallic click. One section of the bookcase slowly slides back to reveal a hidden passage. We can follow the man into the passage, or decide we do not wish to enter the dark corridor and leave the guild hall and return to the streets outside. No, we're on a mission. We'll follow the man into the passage. If he turns on us, we'll have him. You walk for nearly 10 minutes along a dark and winding corridor, then start to climb a steep staircase to a small wooden door. The man presses a secret catch and the door opens. You enter a large, plushly decorated bedroom with a huge marble bath that takes up one corner of the room. The man suggests that you refresh yourself here whilst he seeks an audience with the king. You quickly bathe and change into some white robes that have been left out on a large marble table. Shortly the man returns and leads you through a long corridor lined with exquisite tapestries. You finally arrive at a large door guarded by 2 soldiers wearing silver armour. You are about to meet the king. Turn to 350. And for those of you new to the series, 350 is this series' turn to 400. It is the well done, you've won section. And yes, Lone Wolf adventures are 50 sections shorter than a Fighting Fantasy adventure, but they're sort of more focused. It's not necessarily that they're shorter. Fighting Fantasy will have larger, sprawling sections. They're sort of more focused on a single individual mission. You enter the Chamber of State, a magnificent hall decorated lavishly in white and gold. The king and his closest advisers are studying a large map spread upon a marble plinth in the centre of the chamber. Their faces are lined with worry and concentration. A silence fills the hall as you tell of the death of your kinsman and your perilous journey to the citadel. As you finish your story, the king approaches and takes your right hand in his. And here we have an illustration of the king with his advisors, studying maps, taking orders, gathered round, clustered together, as even a soldier. Is that like a morion and a gorget? Because it's not like a sallet. Lone Wolf, you have selfless courage, the quality of a true Kai Lord. Your journey here has been one of great peril, and although your news comes as a grievous blow, the spirit of your determination is like a beacon to help us all in this dark hour. You have brought great honour to the memory of your masters, and for that we praise you. You receive the praise and heartfelt thanks of the entire hall, an honour that brings a certain redness to your young face. The king raises his hand, and all the voices cease. You have done all that Sommerlund could have asked of a loyal son, but she is greatly in need of you still. The Darklords are powerful once more, and their ambition knows no bounds. Our only hope lies within Jorenor, with the power that once defeated the Darklords an age ago. Lone Wolf, you are the last of the Kai. You have the skills. Will you journey to Jorenor and return with the Summersword, the sword of the sun? Only with that gift of the gods may we crush this evil and save our land. If you wish to accept the quest for the Summersword, begin your adventure with Book 2 of the Lone Wolf Adventures, Fire on the Water. And I will absolutely be starting Fire on the Water sometime soon on this channel. I have no doubt about that. So there we have it. We've completed the first book, Flight from the Dark. We have fled from the Dark armies, witnessed the death of Prince Palafar, and presumably relayed his journey to his important message to his father, that we must go to Jorenor to fetch the Summersword, although he seems to have been capable of achieving that decision, reaching that decision on his own part without his son telling him. I enjoyed this playthrough. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you guys did. There are lots of nice, fun encounters. So, for instance, if we'd gone and joined the group of refugees on the road, the army of the Darklords would have attacked, and there would have been Kran flying down and Gaiax running in, and we'd had to protect some people, and there would have been a few, choices and fights to make, and then we would have had to set off on the rest of our journey. There's a number of different ways to reach the city of Holmgard safely, and quite a number of ways to fail that and just perish. We made it through. I don't think we missed any major game-changing items that will be required for future... Well, not required, but of great use in future books. I mean, we have missed some things. I think the Gaiax scroll is a red herring and doesn't get used for anything at all in a later book. I also am pretty certain that in Book 2 we're going to get some equipment, right? Story so far, game rules, equipment. Yeah, in the Royal Army we can take 2 of the following items. I would strongly suspect the chainmail waistcoat for an extra 4 endurance points. The shield for an extra 2 combat skill. Because we do not have or 2 meals as one of our items. Oh, that'd be interesting. So we might want to take the hunting skill for the next book, because we do get a skill for completing Book 1. Camouflage would be very helpful. Hunting would be very helpful. I'm not sure which to go for there. Animal kinship, do we have it already? We do. There is an encounter in Book 1 with an angry bear that is wounded and it will attack you, but you can use animal kinship to calm it down and persuade it to leave you alone. Right, well, we've had a very successful and heroic journey. Book 2 is an interesting one. Can get quite action-packed at times. And it's been ages since I played it, so I might do... Because this is, revisiting an old favourite, I might, fill around with it a bit before recording. Who knows, right? Because this is supposed to be highlighting the series more than playing something fresh I've never played before and going, oh, can I avoid all the autokills? Trust me, there are some really nasty autokills in Book 2. I can think of at least 2 of them off the top of my head. At least one of which involves a magic spear, or rather, not having the magic spear. Okay, I'd say that about wraps it up for this one. We've had a, horrific evil army pursuing... They haven't just been pursuing us through the countryside, they've been ravaging the whole kingdom, and we've had to sneak and fight our way through to the king to deliver the dire warning that the rest of the Darklords have been slain. This is Sommerlund's darkest hour, and in that hour, the kingdom will have to send its only remaining Darklord to the neighbouring realm of Jorenor. Now, interestingly enough, Sommerlund comes across as generally English. Jorenor comes across as slightly French due to the names, but a lot of fans hold that Jorenor is very Swedish due to the mountainous terrain and some of the encounters and things there. So it is just Jorenor, right? It's a nice thing. And I did add the map of Magnamund to map tools just so we could have something fancy to look at while playing around with the dice box. I will say, one of these islands here, I think Curlew, possibly, is where the first book of the Autumn Snow trilogy takes place. Alright. Well, we made it through. It was epic. I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next one, although I won't be launching into it directly tomorrow. Because, hey, I've got other things to be getting back to, But I will play Book 2 soon, bearing in mind that I also want to get back to Book 6 of The Way of the Tiger, which definitely needs to be started. I think Lone Wolf Wednesday sounds good, so what I might do is move Evil Islands from Wednesday to Friday, and then feature Lone Wolf on a Wednesday semi-regularly going forwards. How does that sound? Well, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, let me know if you think I've missed any major items from this book, or if there's any favourite encounters of yours I might have swerved and avoided. Any favourite routes you might like to go through the adventure. And hey, Book 2 will be up soon. I'll also do a video highlighting the crowdfunding campaign for the board game when it comes up. And, a few other bits and bobs here and there. We'll see how it goes. Alright, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We've made it through to Holmgard. We have evaded the evil forces of the Darklords. And next, we'll be heading off on a vital mission of world-saving importance. I hope we're up to the task. Of course we are. We are Lone Wolf. See you all next time, everyone.